I thought the number would feel heavier. $3.5 million. The kind of figure that sounds exaggerated when spoken aloud, like something pulled from a dramatic headline rather than real life. But sitting in that quiet courtroom, the amount felt strangely abstract, a statistic attached to paperwork, not emotion. What felt real was the chair beside me, empty. My grandfather had always occupied space in a way that didn't demand attention. He wasn't loud, wasn't sentimental, wasn't the type to deliver speeches about family or legacy. But he had a steadiness that made everything around him feel less fragile. Even when my parents cut me off at 18, he never offered commentary. No dramatic disapproval, no attempts to mediate. He simply kept calling. Short conversations, weather, work, ordinary things. Continuity disguised as casualness. The courtroom doors opened with a soft creak that echoed more than it should have. I didn't need to turn around. Some recognitions happen through posture alone. My mother walked in first, scanning the room with quick, assessing eyes. My father followed, wearing the familiar expression of someone entering a situation they already believed they understood. They looked comfortable. That was the unsettling part. Not awkward, not hesitant, comfortable. Mom's gaze landed on me, and for a split second something unreadable crossed her face. Surprise, maybe, before smoothing into a bright, practiced smile. "There you are," she said, as if we'd misplaced each other at a grocery store. Dad nodded, adjusting his jacket. Long time. Long time. 2 words capable of erasing years. We didn't hug, we didn't argue. We simply occupied the same space, suspended in a politeness that felt both artificial and deeply ingrained. They sat close. Too close. Mom leaned toward me, voice warm, almost cheerful. "This is wonderful news." Wonderful. The word landed oddly. My grandfather's death had been quiet, dignified, almost stubbornly private. He'd disliked fuss, disliked prolonged hospital scenes, disliked anything that resembled spectacle. Wonderful didn't seem like the right emotional register. But my parents weren't responding to absence. They were responding to the number. Dad folded his hands, tone confident, reassuring. "Of course, we'll manage it for you." "Not help, manage." Mom nodded quickly. "It's a lot for one person to handle." Their voices carried the rhythm of inevitability, not a proposal, not even a discussion. Just the calm certainty of people stepping into roles they assumed had always belonged to them. I listened. And in that strange stillness, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not anger. Recognition. The same pattern, only updated. When I was younger, decisions had arrived fully formed, schools chosen, plans made. Expectations set. My participation largely symbolic. Estrangement hadn't erased that dynamic, it had only paused it. The judge entered without ceremony, his presence shifting the room's gravity with the kind of quiet authority that required no emphasis. Conversations dissolved into attentive silence. Paperwork shuffled. Legal language unfolded. Assets, holdings, property valuations. Words that floated past me like distant radio static. Until they didn't. And as specified in the final directive. Something changed in the air, not audibly, but perceptibly. The judge adjusted his glasses, eyes scanning the page with measured neutrality. My mother leaned forward slightly. Dad's posture straightened. I felt my own pulse become suddenly noticeable. "The entirety of the estate," the judge continued, "is to remain under the sole legal control of the beneficiary, with explicit provisions preventing external management, reassignment, or custodial oversight by any third party, including immediate family members." Silence. Not dramatic silence, disoriented silence. The kind where comprehension arrives unevenly. Mom blinked first. A small involuntary movement. Dad's expression shifted more slowly, confidence dissolving not into outrage but confusion, as if reality had momentarily violated procedural expectations. "What does that mean?" my mother asked. Her voice sounded different. Less polished. Less certain. The judge's tone remained steady, almost gentle. "It means the beneficiary retains full autonomous control. No one else is authorized to manage or direct the assets. No emphasis, no spectacle. Just fact." I didn't look at them immediately. I looked at the page. My grandfather's decisions had always resembled him, understated, precise, quietly immovable. Only then did I turn. Their smiles hadn't shattered the way dramatic stories describe such moments. Nothing so cinematic, they had simply faded, replaced by something far less theatrical and far more human. Displacement. Dad cleared his throat, shifting in his seat. Well, that's unusual. Unusual. Mom stared ahead, jaw tight, eyes unfocused. And unexpectedly, something inside me tightened too. Because beneath the tension, beneath the years of distance and carefully maintained boundaries, there remained an uncomfortable truth. They were still my parents. Relief arrived tangled with something heavier, not guilt. Not exactly. More like the quiet acknowledgement of a door closing without anyone slamming it. The proceedings continued, but the emotional center of the room had already shifted. Authority had spoken. Control had been defined. Nothing left to negotiate. Outside the courtroom, the hallway felt sterile and strangely intimate. Mom avoided my eyes. Dad attempted a smile that never fully materialized. "We just wanted to help," he said finally. Help. The softer word, arriving late. I nodded because there was nothing useful to contradict. "I know," I said. And I did. That was the complicated part. They weren't villains. They weren't caricatures of greed or cruelty. They were people moving within familiar instincts, shaped by patterns none of us had fully escaped. We stood there for a moment, suspended in something that resembled conversation but lacked direction. Then they left. No confrontation. No reconciliation. Just distance, re-established in a quieter, more definitive form. $3.5 million. Still abstract. But the boundaries my grandfather left behind, those felt solid enough to touch. And somehow, impossibly, also like another kind of inheritance entirely.